Hello and welcome back to Onioncreature Update. I'm Owen Carlson, and today's news is all about E3, the latest video game conference where there were a lot of video games. Just starting off, let's just go in general terms. Nintendo was definitely the big winner of this E3 show because they had a lot of really cool things like Banjo-Kazooie and Super Smash Bros. And The Legend of Zelda 2 and Luigi's Mansion 3, Animal Crossing, and all these really, really good-looking games. But I guess we'll just touch on some of the other developer conferences, because I looked at those this year, and since I looked at them, I might as well talk about it. We'll go in chronological order, which means that our first conference discussion is going to be about Microsoft, my favorite tech company. So Microsoft had a pretty, seemed pretty normal year. They had some decent games, I guess. As usual, not really my kind of thing, not really my cup of tea, but I watched it anyway, and there were a few little gems in there, like Oreo and the Will-O-the-Wisp looked really good. I played a little bit of Ori and the Blind Forest, and I really like that. I think there's also a chance that Ori and the Blind Forest will come to Switch, because it's kind of a similar caliber to Cuphead. Same with Will-O-the-Wisps, that also could come to Switch. That would be really cool, even if it doesn't just a really good looking game, and that stood out to me. The other thing that stood out to me, game of the show from Microsoft, was definitely the Lego Star Wars remake. Yeah, I mean, what can I say? The original Lego Star Wars game is probably one of the most well-known licensed video games, and I think it's really well liked. Definitely one of my fond memories is playing those. I played the complete saga on the Wii, so looking forward to the Lego Star Wars game. I hope it's good as I remember. I don't know if it is, but definitely one I was hyped to see. I was like, oh, it's the Lego Star Wars, but new. How wonderful. The rest of their show was kind of just okay to me. Also, that show went on for a long time. Like Microsoft, that was like over like an hour and a half. It got a bit long. Okay. Then I watched Bethesda later that evening, which I really regretted watching because there was only one game there that I actually had any interest in, and it was Doom Eternal. And they didn't talk about that until like the last 15 minutes. And when they showed it, it looked really great. It looked just like Doom Eternal looks. I'm glad we got a release date, November 22nd. That's a pretty solid release date. You know, it looks like a great game, and I hope it is. And other than that, they had like Fallout DLC and a bunch of other stuff I really couldn't care less about. And it was just really boring. But worse than that was Ubisoft. Thanks, Ubisoft. You took the cake. I think I kept expecting something interesting to come up, like maybe something Nintendo related or something. But no. They had the wacky people dancing, wacky dancing guys, as usual. Yeah, not into that. Moving on, we had Square Enix next. Obviously, the highlight of their show was the Final Fantasy VII remake. I'm actually playing through the original Final Fantasy VII currently on my Switch, and I really like it. I can tell why it's a classic, and I can see the appeal. It looks like they're doing some cool stuff with that, and sort of mixing the turn-based with the more action-focused combat. So looks like there's a lot of stuff going for that. It's kind of weird that they're sort of doing it in parts, like they're doing like a part 1 and then like they're going to do other parts. Kind of weird, but still looked pretty cool. Other than that, Square Enix's conference didn't really stick out to me. They wasted a lot of time on stuff they didn't need to, like they had a trailer for the PC port of Octopath Traveler, which I think is already released or is already known about. So stuff like that was kind of unnecessary. And then they had the Avengers at the end, which I didn't really look like my thing. So that was all the other developers. Overall, I thought it was okay. But I thought I'd check out the other conferences like I do, just because sometimes they have 1 or 2 games in there that look really interesting to me. So yeah, I did that. Okay, now Nintendo Direct time, yay. So yeah, 9 a.m. I mean, overall, I just thought it was great. It definitely had some parts which I thought were unnecessary or didn't flow as well. But it was a 45-minute Direct packed with a lot of really great content and some really cool games. First of all, I really loved the way they introduced Doug Bowser, the new president of Nintendo of America. They did a little animated segment with the CG Bowser, and then Doug Bowser came on. He was like, oh, what are you, Bowser? A lot of puns and, just fun, goofy stuff. Reminded me a lot of some of the classic Nintendo Direct humor that we haven't seen as much recently. Good job to you for that, Nintendo. The first real announcement was the Dragon Quest man coming to Smash Brothers. Yeah, so that announcement did not really excite me and disappointed me a little bit just because I don't really have a connection to that character or that series. It was definitely a well-produced trailer, though, and, obviously, I'm always happy for people who are happy about other Smash announcements. It's just not something that really got to me. So, yeah, they showed that. I was like, alright, don't really want that character, but whatever, it's fine. There's a better luck next time, I guess. Then we transitioned into a view of the new Dragon Quest video game, which is coming to Switch, and I thought it looked pretty decent. The visuals specifically looked really great, so that was cool. Then our next big game segment was Luigi's Mansion 3, which is actually the final title, apparently. A lot of people, including myself, were assuming that we get some sort of subtitle like Dark Moon, but it seems like they're just sticking with the number, which is fine with me. That works just fine. And I really loved what they showed of this game. Graphically, it's way better than what they originally showed in September, and they showed a lot of new game mechanics, like Luigi has this like sort of slam move, there's some co-op elements in it, there's the big old multiplayer scare scraper, which you can now do with up to 8 players. And also they mentioned specifically in the Treehouse Live segment afterwards that they're trying to bring back the portrait ghosts. And they said specifically that they looked at a lot of fan feedback and took that into account when making the new game. So they brought back the portrait ghosts, which were really highly requested. So I thought that was really cool that the dev team is just keeping fans in mind. I think that's really cool. And yeah, just the game itself looks excellent. It was definitely weird that they didn't have a release date for it. And it makes me a little concerned that we might not get an October release, like it might be releasing after October, like in November or December, which is not great because obviously you want the spooky Halloween video game to launch in the spooky Halloween month. So if they can't make that, that'll be a bit of a shame. Obviously the game will still be good no matter when it's released, but it's, you gotta get that holiday festive theming on. But definitely weird that they didn't have a release date. And we got like Link's Awakening remake, which looks spectacular. I love the toy thing they got going on. Everything looks like a toy. They have like these awesome like dioramas set up at E3. And they've also added what looks to be a bit of new stuff to it, where you can create your own dungeon in it. That looks really cool. I'm glad they're adding some more content to this game. And wow, September 20th. Gotta get that when it comes out because it looks real nice. Just gonna touch on this next video game a little bit. It's a licensed game. It's a Dark Crystal video game, which was really unexpected and pretty cool, actually. They are obviously making a new Dark Crystal TV show on Netflix, which they released a trailer for and it looked really good. So I'm really excited in a Dark Crystal-y mood. The video game is sort of a Fire Emblem, like Mario plus Rabbids type thing, sort of a tactical type stuff, and it looked pretty decent. I really like the world of the Dark Crystal, so it'd be cool if they made a video game which is fun to play that also takes place in the world of the Dark Crystal. So yeah, really good puppet game there. Good job, guys. Yeah. Then another third-party thing is they announced a Witcher 3 port to the Switch, which is pretty cool because that's a graphically intensive game. This has been rumored for a while. Definitely the question on everyone's mind is how does it run? Obviously, there's a lot of graphics in this game, has a lot of graphics in it. So people are definitely curious how it's going to transition to a handheld console. Hopefully they do a good job because I've heard this game is really good and I might want to pick it up at some point if it is as good as people say. We had Cadence of Hyrule also at the Direct. And they announced the release date for June 13th, so it's already come out. I haven't picked it up yet, but it does look really good, and would like to play it. Definitely cool that they're releasing it at E3 times. Just give you a nice game to play while you're calming down from all the E3 hype. We also had a little section on Fire Emblem Three Houses where they had like a story trailer. I actually was far more sold on this game by the gameplay they showed at the Treehouse Live because I thought the gameplay looked really good, specifically when they were in the battle. It looked like there was a lot of stuff going on. So yeah, it looks like a solid game. Looks like a Fire Emblem thingy. I'm pretty curious to see what people think of this, and it's coming out next month. And we also had a few new Pokemon details. In the Direct, they talked about, like, you can connect your, like, Pokeball from Pokemon Let's Go. Like, there's a new gym leader and, like, a new gym. So, good stuff there. But then I think at the Treehouse Live segment where they played the game, they mentioned that not all like 800 or however many Pokemon are going to be available in this game, and that you won't be able to bring up your previous Pokemon into this game using Pokemon Home, which is kind of a shame because, you know, a lot of people really love bringing their Pokemon to the modern games, bringing like their Pokemon from like Ruby and Sapphire or whatever to the modern games, and it kind of sucks that you might not be able to do that. Yeah, that's not great, and it's hopefully something that can be fixed in a patch, but I still think the game does look really good. I really like the wild area and some of the new stuff they're introducing. And I also love the new Corgi Pokemon. They have like an electric Corgi Pokemon, and it looks glorious. Look at that thing. Ha! Wow! The Mario and Sonic Olympic Tokyo Games coming out this year. That was announced before, but they showed off some new stuff for it, a new trailer, and it looked pretty decent. Looked like it was a pretty solid, you know, mini game collection. Not really my thing. I haven't really played any of the previous ones, but it looks like it's a solid sort of sports thingy. So, you know, I'm sure that'll appeal to a lot of people. Another big thing we had is that we got the first look at Animal Crossing New Horizons. So I was impressed. I was like, wow, that looks like pretty much exactly what I wanted. It's like a really good looking version of Animal Crossing New Leaf. It's like a really HD-fied version. They showed off quite a few new things with this. It looks like it's got a lot to differentiate itself from previous titles, like you're on an island, and it seems like there's more of a focus on Tom Nook. We didn't really see any of the other supporting cast appear. You can like put furniture outside now, and you can like craft stuff. It's like Animal Crossing Minecraft. I mean, what else could you want from life? I mean, come on. All these cool little details, which should be really fun to play around with when the game releases, which actually is not 2019, it's 2020, it's March 2020. Oh no. Yeah, so the game got delayed. It's March 2020, which is not that great. I can live with it, obviously. It's not like that much longer. Like it's only like, I don't know, it's like 9 months or something. Not an unbearable wait. But, you know, I mean, if you gotta delay a game, you gotta delay a game. So, looks like a good game. Shame it got delayed. Looking forward to more of that. And we should be seeing more of that in future directs. I'm sure we'll get more details, which should hype us up even more. Then they also had like a little sizzle reel where they showed off more third-party stuff. Like Spyro, which is coming out later this year. This has been rumored like for like over 6 months, so not really all that surprising, but still cool to see it. And then they also had the ukulele game, which they also showed at the Nintendo Treehouse, which actually looks pretty decent. Looks like it might be a step up from the previous ukulele game. The biggest problem with the original ukulele was that the developers pretty clearly bit off more than they could chew. The game was just way too ambitious and had way too much going on and pretty clearly lacked a focus. So it just looks like they're more focusing on having a more self-contained, manageable, and hypothetically quality experience. So I hope that turns out well. It's supposed to launch this year, so definitely one I'm keeping an eye on. Then we also saw a little bit of Hollow Knight Silksong. They had a demo there at E3, so we got some new gameplay. It looks great. Hollow Knight is one of my favorite Switch games, and I'm really looking forward to the sequel. It looks like there's a lot more movement options and some fun stuff, and really looking forward to the story and the environments. And man, just excited. They don't have a release window. They don't even have a release year. But if I had to guess, I'd say it's probably slated for 2020, just based on the footage we've seen. But, you know, could be later than that even, who knows. But definitely very excited for whenever that's released. And now we got the big stuff. They definitely saved the best for last with this Nintendo Direct, because we got Banjo Flippin' Kazooie in Smash Bros. And I loved the trailer. They sort of called back to the King K. Rool reveal trailer, which obviously makes sense. They're both rare characters, which are highly requested, and sort of dream characters for people. Who would have thought, man, the day is here, Banjo-Kazooie is in Smash Bros. It really is kind of crazy because it's just been like a meme for so long. Like it's kind of like on the same level as Ridley being in Smash. Yeah, and it's just great to see. I love that they got Grant Kirkhope to do the remix for the game. That was a really cool detail. And I also love how Banjo-Kazooie look in the game. They look really good, and it looks like they have a lot of cool moveset stuff. Although I will say that their stage, Spiral Mountain, looked a little unfinished, but that's probably because it is, you know, unfinished. So presumably that's going to look better by the time it releases. But yeah, man, just really exciting stuff. It's the end of an era. You know, Banjo's in Smash now. Banjo, King K. Rool, Ridley are all in Smash. And actually, while we're on the topic of Smash Bros, I got some predictions I want to just get out there. I think we're going to get the hero from Dragon Quest in August released. And then we're going to get Banjo-Kazooie released in October. That seems pretty logical to me and seems like something that is pretty likely. I think we're going to get the 4th DLC character announced in a September Nintendo Direct, and that character will release in December. And also in December, we'll have the 5th and last character revealed at the Game Awards, which will be released in February of 2020. I think that makes a lot of sense, just because we had, Joker last year, and it would actually give me a reason to watch the Game Awards. Oh, but that was not all that they showed in the Nintendo Direct. Oh no! Because they pulled the classic One More Thing line, and I kind of assumed, obviously, that Banjo would be the final thing that they leave off on, because they usually end on some big highlight. But no, they had one other thing, and it was Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2. Wow! Who saw that coming? That's pretty crazy. I actually thought this trailer was the coolest thing ever. It was actually like legitimately creepy, which was pretty unexpected for a Zelda trailer. And we have like a spooky reanimated dead corpse, a lot of dark energy, which is like eating rats and mice. And there's really creepy music with reversed voices and all that weird spooky stuff. And I'm assuming that that's sort of the tone they're going for with this game, a sort of darker tone, which is pretty cool. I am actually hoping for a bit more of a story focus in this game compared to Breath of the Wild, which I thought was a bit weak in terms of its story implementation, so hopefully we get a better version of a Zelda story in this game. Obviously they didn't have a release date. I would say probably 2021 at the earliest. What a thing to end an E3 Direct on. That was pretty hype-inducing, if I do say so myself. But yeah, then they ended and we got more Treehouse stuff, which I've already talked about a little bit. Just a lot of good stuff happening at this E3 for Nintendo. I can't say quite as much for the other companies, but also, that stuff doesn't really appeal to me as much. So, this is just sort of an obligatory E3 discussing video, as you do. So, I am going to leave here. Thank you for tuning in to this Onioncreature update. And bye.